Well, hey, good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Corley. Today I'm talking about personalization at scale. And as he said, I heard a great panel earlier with a couple of folks from Northwestern Mutual or from Ameritrust Bank talking about scaling personalization initiatives. And in some ways, I'll build on some of the themes that they shared. My name's Jonathan Corley. Again, I'm based in Atlanta. I work for Sitecore. Sitecore is a digital experience platform. We're a software company that a lot of marketers build their digital experiences on. Over the years, I've worked on dozens of marketing strategy engagements with clients to help them plan and get started with things like personalization, experimentation or A/B testing, marketing automation. And I am really passionate about music and emerging technologies. But Sitecore does have a booth. We're back in the corner here. Please say hello after the session. We sit really at the intersection of content management, so you can gather all of your brand assets on our platform, and experience delivery, where you can use customer data to activate experiences. Over the years, I've worked with a lot of brands to plan their personalization strategy or get started with delivering engaging experiences in retail banking, in insurance, in wealth management. And today I want to talk in three broad sections about the DX maturity of financial services. I want to talk about omni-channel engagement and content agility. And then I really want to focus on how a team can organize to innovate. I've got a generative AI use case toward the end that I'll share where you can, as marketers, leverage AI for ideation to come up with a personalization strategy. But first, I thought we'd start here. If I think about personalization generally, what a really effective or great example of personalization in my daily life is, Spotify comes to mind. And there is no Atlanta office. I work from home. I don't commute, but each morning as I fire up my Outlook inbox, I end up playing Spotify's Your Daily Drive podcast. And it's designed for commuters, but regardless of whether it's on my phone or my iPad, which device I'm using, it's always personalized and up to date based on, what my favorite artists, new artists I've discovered recently, news sources that I trust, and importantly, their product and their marketing team, they're able to track and optimize to make sure that, optimize for interactions. But whether you're at a retail bank or an insurance firm, your customers are buying things on Amazon. Your customers are listening to Apple Music. They're watching Netflix. They expect you, their expectations are absolutely heightened. They expect you to know them if they're sharing data, to remember and acknowledge them, to understand their current needs. And I think Amazon does a really good job of anticipating future needs. So I bought my son recently it's a toy that had an odd size battery. They likely moved that battery to a fulfillment center fulfilled by Amazon before I even realized I needed to purchase it. And then it showed up Prime the next day. But the stakes are high too. This is BAI Banking Outlook survey where they looked across different cohorts of generations within retail banking. Over 70% of Gen Z and over 70% of millennials say that they will switch their primary bank for better digital capabilities. I think that's a staggering statistic. And while marketers and digital teams are on the hook to deliver engaging experiences, they're also trying to balance a post-pandemic low of marketing budget. Here's a Gartner study that shows marketing budget as a percentage of total revenue, and it's the lowest it's been since 2021. So how do you do more with less? I'm going to focus on a few real-world tangible use cases of how different brands have used marketing technology to improve the customer experience. And I really like this study. It's a Forrester report where they just looked at the average incremental revenue of their customers and asked the question, what if you could move the needle by 1% with customer experience. What would that mean for the bottom line of your company? And in each case, the stakes are really high. There's a very measurable impact on the business. So when I think about customer experience, I've worked with a lot of marketing teams. Sometimes they'll get into a room. I'm curious, show of hands, has anyone been involved in a workshop or a project to define just the customer journey phases? So most of y'all have. And honestly, people sit in a room and they argue over whether it should be expansion ampersand wealth management or expansion and wealth management, and then it goes on a wall and it becomes wall art and everyone forgets about it because life is messy. Nothing really goes according to plan. This is a representative customer for a retail bank, Jane Dominguez, and you can see how she's veering in and out of different journey stages from brand awareness to research, opening accounts, doing more research, but it's up to the marketing and digital teams to deliver, really connect those touch points, whether it's online or offline, and to deliver a consistent, engaging, and personalized experience. And I think that's what Sitecore does really well, is it enables marketers without too much dependency on their counterparts in tech to deliver personalized experiences within a low-code or no-code environment. And I've worked with a lot of brands to assess their digital maturity, so figure out how they stack up against competitors or against other industries, and then to create a plan to get started with personalization. So if you're interested, drop by the booth. You can take Sitecore's Digital Experience Maturity Assessment. It's like an 8-minute, 10-minute survey. You can take it on your phone, or we can send it to you to take afterward. And immediately you'll get a PDF report that drops your brand into one of 5 levels of maturity, and it scores you across the 6 dimensions that you see bottom right here. And you get benchmarked against we've had hundreds of submissions or customers within financial services. So overall digital maturity, it's kind of middle of the pack. And along with healthcare, you guys have a little more, regulation and oversight on the use of customer data. But I think there's a lot of valuable lessons you can learn from really simple, low-hanging fruit tactics or quick wins that brands in retail or in media and entertainment are deploying for customers. So I'm going to walk kind of up the scale and share some practical, real-world examples. I'm going to look through this from a planning, crawl, walk, run, fly lens. And that first phase, or the first level of digital experience maturity, that's all about planning. It's all about gathering the right team in the room, about really mapping out how do we want to use customer data. Do we have the right processes? Do we have the right technology? Which channels can we get started to activate engaging experiences on? You also may want to think about content agility in this phase. I'm going to reference back to this model here, but you'll look in the bottom 2 rows at customer data and channels, and you can see how they start really simple with in-session data to trigger personalized experiences, maybe on the website or the mobile app. And as you grow or advance into more complexity, we heard from Northwestern Mutual earlier about their RFM modeling. I thought, or their customer lifetime value engagement scale modeling. I thought there were a couple of really great use cases. My favorite I heard during that panel was they're taking transactional data. They're looking at, are there a lot of frequent recent purchases at Home Depot, and can we use that to position a personal loan? That's more on the advanced side of the scale, because they're likely in the market for a home improvement project. But I want to talk about starting simple. So before you even get started with personalization, there's a couple of key concepts where I think marketers or successful marketing teams often borrow best practices from their counterparts in IT. And when you think about agile marketing, you don't need to follow every agile Scrum ceremony, but it does help to come up with a list of ideas that you prioritize occasionally, and then commit to those as a group. Pull those into a sprint, maybe sprints last a couple weeks, and then measure the results. And this part's key. Broadcast those results outside of the marketing team to the wider organization, whether it's success, whether your tests are working, or whether they're failing. Make sure you're sharing, here are the ideas we have, here's what we measured, and you might be surprised at the ideas that you get back from different parts of the organization. We work with McCormick, who makes like Frank's Red Hot or Old Bay seasoning, a lot of grill seasonings, and they shared just a monthly, almost newsletter of our experimentation results, and they started to get ideas back from the test kitchen on what if we show this recipe on the homepage. You'll be surprised at areas way outside of marketing that might have ideas which inform your backlog. And then the second concept in that planning phase, I've got a colleague in Australia that uses the acronym COPE, but with a digital asset management solution, you can really atomize, so create atomic content or break your content into these modular elements way upstream before it ever gets to a channel so that you can create it once and then publish it everywhere. Maybe you have a credit card product and the short description for that changes next month. If you change it in one place, then you can syndicate that to the website, to the app. You only have to make that change once. It's going to allow you to be a lot more agile with delivering content. But this is about personalization at scale. So let's look at a few examples in each of these categories. The second level of maturity there, that's really just crawling, just getting started. So this is a major bank in Europe. This one's simple, it's based on page views. So if you previously viewed the mortgage page or an article about buying your first home, then the home page will show a big banner that talks about their green mortgage with lower interest rates. That's simple but effective. Again, there are lessons to learn outside of the industry. So curious, has anyone here been to Dollywood? It's a Dolly Parton themed theme park. I see a few hands. They leveraged GeoIP locations, so just where is the session coming from? And if you're in the state of Tennessee, then they show the one-day ticket offer. Anything else, they show a hero for outer markets. But you can imagine how this might apply to, the skyline of the city that you're in on the home page. And even those gentle nudges in the right direction can build brand equity and can improve the customer experience. This one's kind of in two parts, but Chick-fil-A uses our software bottom right to day part with personalization. So in the morning, you'll see a chicken biscuit. At lunchtime, it looks like a salad. In the evening, around dinner time, you'll see the full meal. But when the marketing team went back to the business and they had a new mandate to increase catering orders, that was a major strategic priority. So what they did is look for signals deep in the website. If someone recently ordered multiple catering orders, or if they've been browsing the catering menu, odds are they're an office manager, and that they'll do it again. So in a subsequent session, the homepage was all about ordering the barbecue chicken catering bundle, which that's less than 1% of their traffic, office managers. But that simple tactic, it's just using a page view, it led to a 6% lift in catering orders for that month, year over year. So those are all pretty simple, just using in-session data in the browser. Advancing, so this is kind of stage 3. Another large bank, if you are on a page, you could use scroll depth. This is page lingering, and you haven't done anything in a couple of minutes. There's a pop-up that says, go ahead and talk to an advisor. That's a simple tactic, just an overlay or a modal that's time-based for a specific page. This one I like a lot. It's Volvo. They followed the money. So they went back to last year's, I think this was 2021 or 2022, and asked, what did we spend the most on from a Google AdWords paid search campaign perspective? And They found that XC60 test drive was one of their highest trafficked paid campaigns. So they use that as a campaign or a trigger. If you arrive on the website from searching about a specific model, then they show pricing on the home page. Instead of the default stuff on the right where you have their entire fleet of cars, they just ask you, do you want to go ahead and take a test drive of this vehicle? You know their interest based on how they arrived or browsed to your website. Use those signals to improve the experience for customers. Excelling. So Allied Irish Bank is the largest retail bank in Ireland. If you've ever left a credit card, like on a table at a restaurant in a billfold, or left a, I don't know, if you've lost a credit card, it's a stressful process. So they have a switch that just flips off all personalization and sales messaging if you're in the middle of that lost or stolen card process. And what they found is by changing some messaging and like suspending any sales tactics, there was a measurable lift in customer satisfaction. Finally, leading. This is where a lot of brands aspire to be, and you can learn lessons from L'Oreal or Microsoft or Boston Consulting Group. This one is L'Oreal, and it's Lancome or Lancome. But there's a augmented reality app where you can try on like their product and then save it to your profile. And if you're in a store or walking through a mall where they have a sales rep, it notifies you, like, try it on in person or try the product in person, and the agent has, or sales associate has access to the product that you've been interacting with. I like this because it veers like in and out of digital and physical space in a really seamless way. United Airlines uses Sitecore to personalize the screens in their, like in airports as you're boarding. So, and here's a quick look, I guess, beneath the hood at the decisioning canvas, where if enough bags get checked, then it triggers that digital signage to say, check your carry-on for free. But again, I'd encourage you to think beyond the website and the mobile app and consider, do we have screens in our retail locations, in our branches? Is there an ATM that maybe you have the customer's information? Can we show targeted offers to people? So final section here is, it's about innovation and organizing the team to succeed. I've seen a lot of really large marketing groups or teams with hundreds or thousands in some cases of marketers and developers that stall, that don't get anything done. There's a lot of decision by committee, or everyone points fingers and no one starts. I've seen it work really well with a small dedicated team. That it's really important to have an executive sponsor that believes in your personalization or your experimentation program, someone that can cut through bureaucratic noise or clear the path for budget and advocate for the program. I think a product owner or a digital experience strategist or leader that fundamentally owns the day-to-day is important. And then kind of around the wheel, this could be one person wearing multiple caps. It could be multiple people in one of these roles, but I think that's the essential structure or skill set required, whether it's a digital strategist, an analyst, project manager, UX, and then front and back end developers. I think that's the ideal structure of the team there. And one consistent message that I've heard from marketing leaders is that they know they need to personalize the site. That's all they hear. You've heard that at 3 different sessions today. What's stopping them isn't a desire. It's that they feel that they're held back by the amount of content that they need to generate, which suddenly we're living in really interesting times where in 5 days, ChatGPT hit like 1 million users, and then 2 years later, they crossed the 100 million user mark. That is hard for me to understand. It took Uber like 70 months to achieve that same usage. This sudden proliferation of generative AI could, in some ways, help increase content velocity or help with a personalization program. And it's not going to solve every problem. I like to apply the Dunning-Kruger lens to this. So if I play guitar, I play piano. If you're learning a new instrument or a new skill, the first week, you take one guitar lesson, you learn a few chords, and you think, oh, I'll have this. I'm overconfident. I will be able to play any song I want in just a year or two. And then the further you get into scales and progressions, and you realize that it's pretty complex. Same thing with Gen AI. The first time you use it, you think maybe this is a magic button that will write my blogs for me, but wait a minute, it hallucinates, and I can't publish what it's hallucinating. I'm really going to have to proofread everything here. Like, now you're ready to begin using it to ideate, I guess, or for specific purposes. And you can also find me on the booth if you want to run this report, but I've worked with a few colleagues, just side hobby, to build on top of OpenAI's GPT-4 Omni. For your brand, you can get the system to define the customer journey phases, moving from, this is a retail banking example, from identifying needs all the way through expanding services. And then you can get the system to define a few large representative segments. And there's a lot of prompt engineering that went into this. That was a view of GPT-4. But as a starting point to ideate, here you have a mapped matrix of a personalization strategy. So what would you say to Gen Z at each phase of the customer journey? Or how would you talk to a retiree or to a mid-sized business? And you can imagine each of the intersections within this matrix, each of these could be an entire blog post, or maybe it's the headline on a homepage hero. But this digital relevancy mapping or personalization matrix is something I think you could apply to your own business. And it's a simple lens to get started with a few personalization scenarios. We do have Sitecourse Stream, which Mark would be happy to talk to you at the booth, which bakes some generative processes into your content creation lifecycle. I've never been more excited about a product that Sitecourse released. So find us at the booth if you want to learn more. But just one parting thought, and then I'll open it up for questions, is how will, I guess my own question, how will Gen AI impact organic traffic? Because a lot of us are responsible for writing 50 new articles next quarter for your brand, or knowledge-based articles, or blogs. So on the right-hand side here, if you flip on some experimental search lab stuff in Google, I type in, what is DFMS NYC? And you'll notice on the screen real estate of this tablet, there's not a link to the website. All you see is AI-generated, it's an annual conference. The 11th annual one is November 7th through the 8th. It's at the Hilton Midtown. Great. I got the answer I need, and I move on without ever going to the website or leaving the search engine. I think that's going to have a big effect on marketers. Analysts are calling that AI answers will reduce organic traffic by 20 to 50% over the next few years. So what does that mean? Well, first, you have to get around it somehow by creating a reason for customers to visit your site or engage with your brand. And I don't think AI can summarize experiences or personalize engaging experiences. I think you'll see a drop in what I call junk food marketing, in this high-frequency, low-effort content marketing. Instead, what's really going to resonate, you should be placing your chips or your bets on low-frequency, high-effort content marketing, on thought leadership that really resonates with your audience. And aim to create memorable experiences that defy summarization by the generative engines, which are arriving faster than I anticipated. Thank you for your time. I want to open it up for a few minutes of questions.
Hi, my name is Matt Pashota from JP Morgan. As you're talking about on your collaboration slide, right, you had digital experience enthusiasts in the middle and then all the different roles around it. From your experience working with different big institutions where product, often along with technology, design, analytics, they own a lot of the product experience, actually building the experience, getting it into the live world, where marketing, in the instance of a website or a digital experience, also has a pretty significant skin in the game there. How have you seen or not seen really great collaboration and partnership across all of those teams in service of delivering on the customer experience?
Yeah, smaller teams tend to work better, but I like the cross-functional nature of a center of excellence or a Tiger team, or the experimentation program that involves having someone at least in the upfront planning workshop or as part of a steering committee from product. Maybe they're not in on every single session, but it's more important to involve the business, to secure their buy-in, but they also have a lot of insights. And expand out of to where it's not just marketing.
More questions? More questions. Oh, now it's on.
So in the 5 steps that you showed there, what were the technological or data underpinnings that enabled the higher steps versus the small? I may have missed some of that, but it seems like a lot of those were relatively comparable. They were just different things you could do as opposed to significantly more sophisticated on the high end, unless...
Sure, yeah, great question. I'll have that slide at the booth if you want to look in more detail. But if you think about just crawling, like getting started, that's using in-session data. That's anonymous, you don't know anything about the customer, right? That's maybe the time of the browser. If you're walking, like phase 2, you're beginning to leverage a little bit of like cross-session behavior, so maybe what you did in a previous session. In the third, maybe you have access to a CDP which has transactional data or has at least the products that a customer has. And finally, once you get to like flying or that final stage, it could be biometrics. This could be the affinity or like the emotional tone of the voice as you're interacting with a chat agent. So I wouldn't start there though. I would just start with what page did someone view and what does that tell me about a user?
We've got time for one more. Going once.
All right, well, hey, thank you everyone again for your time.